In the modern world, power is no longer measured only by the size of an army or the number of tanks on a battlefield. It is measured by global reach, technological dominance, strategic alliances, and the ability to project force anywhere on Earth within hours. At the center of this global balance stands the United States of America, and surrounding it stands the most powerful military alliance ever created, NATO. But what happens when the strongest nation on Earth is compared to the alliance it leads? Is the United States more powerful on its own, or does NATO's combined strength surpass it? To understand the real answer, we must go beyond slogans, flags, and politics and examine the raw military reality. NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, was formed in 1949 in the shadow of World War II and the rising threat of the Soviet Union. Its core promise was simple but revolutionary. An attack on one member would be considered an attack on all. This single idea reshaped global security and created a military bloc unlike anything in history. Today, NATO consists of 31 member nations, including the United States, Canada, and most of Europe. On paper, NATO represents nearly 1 billion people, thousands of military bases, and some of the most advanced weapon systems ever built. Yet within this alliance, one nation stands far above the rest in terms of military power, spending, and global reach: the United States. The United States military is not designed only for defense. It is designed for global dominance. With defense spending that exceeds the next several countries combined, the U.S. maintains a force capable of fighting multiple major wars at the same time. The U.S. defense budget alone is larger than the combined military budgets of most NATO members. This financial power translates directly into technology, training, logistics, and readiness. American forces are constantly deployed, tested, and modernized, giving them a level of real-world operational experience unmatched by any other nation. When examining manpower, NATO appears overwhelming. Combined, NATO countries have millions of active duty and reserve personnel. However, numbers alone can be misleading. Many NATO militaries are structured primarily for defense, peacekeeping, or regional security. In contrast, the U.S. military is structured for rapid global intervention. American troops are supported by massive logistical networks, strategic airlift capabilities, and forward-deployed bases across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East. This allows the United States to move tens of thousands of soldiers, vehicles, and supplies across continents in a matter of days, something no other nation or alliance can match independently. Air power is where the gap becomes even clearer. The United States Air Force is the largest and most technologically advanced air force in the world. When combined with the U.S. Navy and Marine Corps aviation, the United States operates more aircraft than the rest of NATO combined. American stealth fighters such as the F-22 and F-35 give the U.S. a decisive edge in air superiority, capable of striking deep into enemy territory while remaining nearly invisible to radar. While NATO allies also operate advanced aircraft, many rely heavily on U.S. intelligence, refueling, and command systems to operate effectively in large-scale conflicts. Naval power further highlights the imbalance. The United States Navy is the only navy on Earth capable of sustained global operations without reliance on foreign ports. With 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, each acting as a floating airbase, the U.S. can project power anywhere on the planet. NATO as a whole has strong naval forces, particularly from the United Kingdom, France, and Italy. But no other NATO country operates carriers with the same scale, endurance, and combat capability as those of the United States. In any major conflict, NATO naval operations are largely built around U.S. carrier strike groups. Nuclear weapons remain the ultimate measure of military power, and here the picture becomes complex. The United States possesses one of the largest and most sophisticated nuclear arsenals in the world, supported by a complete nuclear triad: land-based missiles, submarine-launched missiles, and strategic bombers. Within NATO, only the United States, the United Kingdom, and France possess nuclear weapons. While NATO's combined nuclear deterrent is formidable, it is overwhelmingly dominated by the United States. American nuclear strategy, technology, and command systems form the backbone of NATO's deterrence posture. Technology and intelligence are where the United States truly separates itself from the rest. American dominance in satellites, surveillance, cyber warfare, and electronic warfare gives it unparalleled awareness of global events. U.S. intelligence agencies, combined with military reconnaissance systems, provide real-time battlefield awareness that NATO allies often depend upon. In modern warfare, information is power, and the United States controls more of it than any other nation or alliance. Cyber warfare and space warfare represent the newest frontiers of conflict. The United States has openly acknowledged the creation of dedicated cyber and space commands, treating these domains as full battlefields alongside land, sea, and air. While NATO has begun integrating cyber defense into its doctrine, the United States remains the driving force behind these capabilities. American satellites enable global communication, missile detection, navigation, and targeting. Without U.S. space assets, NATO's ability to conduct modern warfare would be severely limited. Despite this overwhelming American dominance, NATO's strength lies in unity. NATO provides political legitimacy, regional access, and shared responsibility. European NATO members offer strategic geography, regional expertise, and additional forces that multiply U.S. power. In conflicts such as Afghanistan, Libya, and Eastern Europe, NATO's combined presence sends a powerful message of collective defense that no single nation could replicate alone. However, this raises a critical question: who depends on whom more? Does the United States need NATO, or does NATO need the United States? The answer lies in reality rather than ideology. NATO without the United States would struggle to conduct large-scale, sustained military operations. Critical capabilities such as strategic airlift, missile defense, intelligence coordination, and nuclear deterrence would be severely weakened. On the other hand, the United States without NATO would still remain the world's strongest military power, but it would lose strategic allies, forward bases, and political legitimacy in many regions. In a hypothetical scenario where the United States stood alone against the combined forces of NATO minus America, the result would not be a traditional war, but a complex strategic standoff. NATO's combined manpower and regional strength would pose serious challenges, particularly in Europe. Yet the United States' technological edge, global reach, and nuclear superiority would ensure that no clear military victory could be achieved without catastrophic consequences. In reality, such a conflict is nearly unthinkable because NATO exists precisely to prevent internal confrontation and maintain collective security. The future of global military power will not be defined by USA versus NATO as enemies, but by how effectively they function together in an increasingly unstable world. Rising powers, hybrid warfare, cyber attacks, and space-based threats are reshaping the battlefield. In this environment, the United States remains the engine of NATO's military power, while NATO remains the multiplier of American influence. In the final analysis, comparing the United States to NATO reveals a deeper truth about modern warfare. Power today is not just about who has the biggest army or the most weapons. It is about integration, technology, alliances, and the ability to act decisively across the globe. The United States is the strongest military force ever created by a single nation. NATO is the strongest military alliance ever formed. Together, they dominate the global security landscape. Separate, both would be weaker. United, they remain unmatched.